What is good, YouTube? This is Osiris, the PC Pimp, and today I have another comparison video for you of a graphics card drivers between Windows and Linux. Last time I did the GTX 660 from NVIDIA and did it on Windows and on Linux, and the results were pretty good. You can go check out that video on my page. And today we're going to do the AMD Catalyst drivers using the R9 290X. If you're a Linux user and a gamer, then you know that the Catalyst drivers have been a sore point for Linux gamers. But let's see how they compare on the benchmarks. On Unigine Heaven benchmark 4.0, Windows scored in 39.7 to Linux's 37.5. So that's pretty close. Nothing I don't think you should be too worried about. The score was 1,000 under Windows and 945 on Linux, with a minimum frames per second of 16.7 and a minimum of 7.6. That's a pretty large difference. I'm not really sure why that was there, but from what I've seen, it's pretty normal for the minimum frames per second to be lower on Linux, according to other videos I've seen on YouTube. So for the max frames per second, it was 103 and 106, so pretty close. I wouldn't worry about that too much at all. So on Unigine Heaven, the Catalyst drivers seem to be pretty close to each other in performance. There's nothing I would be too worried about as far as usability and experience goes. So let's move on to the Unigine Valley benchmark. For Windows, we had 44 frames per second, and Linux 36 frames per second average. Now that's a pretty big difference in average, and I don't know why that is. Only thing I can contribute it to is the Catalyst drivers on Linux. The score was pretty different also, as you can see from this slide, and the minimum was pretty close. The maximum frames per second was not even close. Almost 20 frames per second difference. Now why that is, I don't know. I don't understand why the Valley benchmark is so different than the Heaven benchmark, but there is a difference. And if you look at this slide, you can see which settings I use in case you want to emulate these tests. I used a quality, obviously I used OpenGL on both platforms because Linux does not support DirectX, and I used quality of Ultra, tessellation extreme, anti-aliasing ×8, and my system resolution is 1920 by 1080, and this was all under the Heaven benchmark. Under the Valley benchmark, once again I used OpenGL, quality of Ultra, anti-aliasing of ×8, and 1920 by 1080 screen resolution. Now I don't have the footage to show you, but I did do some comparison videos of games that I have that play on both sides of Windows and Linux. Well, before I get to that, let me explain to you my system setup. I have a Core i5-3570K, an R9 290X Republic of Gamers Matrix Platinum, and I am using 8 gigs of RAM. So I did run some games that I have that work on both Windows and Linux, like Civilization 5, Team Fortress, and what was the other one? Oh, Metro Last Light. Now, benchmarking games on completely different platforms is a pain, to say the least. Even though you have the same hardware, there's still major variables. But there is one thing I did notice while playing Metro Last Light on Windows at everything Ultra, all the way turned up except for PhysX, because AMD doesn't support PhysX. I was getting very nice frame rates of about 70-ish, I think. Let me go ahead and pull that up. I actually did the benchmark also. Yes, I was getting about 70 frames per second. When I did it on, if you played the Linux version of Metro Last Light, there's not any video options. There's only a video slider. So I pushed the video slider all the way up to the maximum level, and then I played a while on Linux, and I don't know, it stopped drawing anything that was lighted. Anything that was lighted in the rooms did not get drawn. Like, there was no light. Then it stopped drawing textures, and the menu stopped working. So I'm gonna have to say that that's a driver fail on that Catalyst behalf, for sure. I then played Civilization 5, and Civilization 5 works pretty much fine, because Civilization 5 pretty much just runs at 60 frames per second. No issues there, not a problem. But you would not buy a $400 plus video card to play Civilization 5, I wouldn't think. So there's not an issue with that. I played a couple of other games, and it's just random weird crashes. Now, I'm not gonna say that I don't get similar type of random crashes on Windows, but they're way less in occurrence. For the most part, Catalyst drivers just work on Linux. I don't have too many issues at all. And I can't even say that the issues that I have on Windows are the Catalyst driver issues. There's nothing that points to it, and for sure. So I don't know. I will say that the AMD Catalyst drivers are still very far behind on Windows, on Linux, as a comparison to Windows. So hopefully AMD can work on their stability as the main part and performance as a secondary, because it's some, like, Metro Last Light wasn't playable at all. Couldn't play the game on Linux at all. It was pretty bad. And really, besides The Witcher 2, there's not even really too many graphically intense games out there. But if you buy a video card, of course, you want to know that you're getting the performance that you pay for, of course. And part of that purchase is the driver stack. So hopefully AMD gets this together, and we can have happy AMD, SteamOS, and Linux users out there in the world again. So hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. If you did not, hit the thumbs down. I'm always open to comments and suggestions down below. And this is Osiris, and I'm out.